All right. Hi, everybody. This is Psychic Carla Barron, and we are doing a metaphysical type podcast this evening. Um, I had a reading earlier out of Ireland, and it was on my Teams, and I wanted to talk about something that was happening during that reading. She actually wrote a testimonial, which I have to post after I'm done with this, but tomorrow, we are also going to be doing another episode of my weekly astro psychic predictions, which people are liking. Each zodiac sign, each of the 12, and that takes about an hour for those. And that's just me going through each sign, saying what I see. But today's reading out of Ireland, I mean, I was just like nailing the time left and right, left and right. And I decided that this is something that many clients, are baffled as to how am I able to see timing so well? Because some psychics, that's not their thing. I mean, they're able to see detail but have no idea about the timing. So they usually pick a large frame of time and then they hope it lands somewhere in the middle there. So it's not really the way I roll. I like to I like to provide as much detail and as many uh, minute details as I can. And timing is one of those things that I personally look to psychics for, when I was getting readings. Timing is one of the elements that sets you apart from all the others out there. I am known for it. A lot of my testimonials cover timing. In fact, if you want to read them, just go on to my main website and scroll down a little bit. And when you get to the search bar, just put the term timing in there. Timing. And all of the testimonials that deal with my sense of timing and when I see things happening on the timeline. And, sure enough, it pops up more than you might think. I mean, it seems to happen with my readings where I am able to pinpoint timing on a regular basis. So hopefully I can keep doing that, for as long as I live. Um, but so far, so good. But I wanted to explain how timing actually works. And then I'll take your questions also. So if you want to ask questions about how timing works, what that process is, what to expect from when I give you certain time frames, like is it written in stone? What's happening there? Those kinds of things. Go ahead and submit a request to speak and I will put you on, but I'll try to answer a lot of that now. All right. So when I do my reads, as you all know, and this is Psychic Carla Barron, in case I didn't introduce myself before. Um, I usually just start going into the material. I have noticed when I go in to any given read, timing and when something is going to occur or when it might occur or what is the most likely time that something will occur. That seems to be one of the first three questions that somebody asked me. So I decided to cover this with how do I get to that information? How do I get to timing? What do I see that tells me, a certain day or a certain week, or sometimes I even get the exact day and or a time, like a time when someone's going to call or something like that. And honestly, guys, here's how it happens. I'll take a look at it. I'll look at the timeline. And the reason I am known for this is because I'm not afraid to see it and I'm not afraid to tell you. I would say that 90% of the psychics out there doing reads, they have an inherent, innate fear of, disseminating time. And they hate to do it because what if I'm wrong? What if I'm off? That'll throw off the whole reading and then they won't come back. Or, what if I'm not seeing it correctly and they're waiting for something, it doesn't happen, and they miss their opportunity? First of all, the whole reason you do this for a living, for a calling, is so that you can give the information as it's given to you. I get out of my own way. When I am disseminating information that I am seeing, I step aside. It's not that I don't care if I'm right or wrong, but it certainly isn't my main concern. I would be more concerned if I didn't give you that information, if I didn't hand you the timing as I'm getting it. Some people are saying, well, why is it that the timeline seems to move, or the timeline shifts and it's not the same timeline you said before? All right, well, this is where it gets tricky. We have free will as human beings on this planet, on this, journey we're on. We were given something called free will. No, it's not some convenient excuse that I'm giving you for if I happen to be wrong with the timing. It has nothing to do with being right or wrong. It has to do with elements that are presented, elements that enter the timeline that are unexpected, free will choices, where people come into the timeline and let's say somebody's not ready for something. And the timeline and the timing I'm seeing depends on these other souls, these other individuals. And when I tell you that the timeline I'm seeing sometimes changes dependent upon free will, that's what I mean. It means that somebody in the mix is just not ready, or they're scared, or they're having second thoughts, or they're backing up, or they're backpedaling, or something's happening there where they just don't feel ready right at that moment to launch, and that's where the timing changes. That's why usually when I see certain souls that are going to be introduced to other souls on the timeline, I'll see 3 or 4 windows. The reason I see those timeline windows is because if you don't take that first one, you're going to take one of the other ones. And the only reason you wouldn't take the first one is if somebody in the mix decides to leave the party early and they're not ready and they'll come back. That happens all the time. So it's not the psychic input that's wrong. It's nothing about right or wrong. It has to do with, okay, we have a scenario here. Most likely the thing is going to happen. It might take the second or third window by the time every single person in the mix is ready for that particular event. It's the best way I can explain why that happens. Because people want to point fingers. Everybody's sick and tired of waiting, and why do I have to wait? I'm ready. Why aren't all the other players ready? And you know what? I mean, that's why we're here. We're here to get along. All of us playing in this little sandbox, we're here to get along. And we're here to learn lessons, to adopt patience with the timeline. And when you are looking at timing, that's an earthbound thing. We are bound to time. There's nothing we can do about that. There's a binding there, and you know, the timeline also can, uh, that's it's a natural occurrence here. Some people age more than others on that timeline. Some events age on that timeline. It just depends on what it is. Some people need more time. The thing is not to create such a vacuum or a black hole with the timing. Oh, well, it's not happening soon enough for me, so it's not worth it. That you should really scrap that whole idea, guys. I mean, the whole reason for making the agreement is so that you go through it from start to finish. If you're tired of waiting, then don't make the agreement coming in. Abdicate the agreement and give it up. But don't play both sides and say, "Oh, I still want that thing. I just don't want to wait." It's first of all, the universe is just going to say, "Well, there's not a lot you can do about that," because usually the waiting involves other people on this planet, in this dimension that we all see. So, when you are looking at timing, I will give you the most likely time this is going to happen. The first one that I am seeing that's coming into my viewfinder. And I would have to say probably 75% of the time it happens in that time frame that I gave you. If there's an extension on that, it's because one of the other parties in that event, that life event, that occurrence, that happening, is not ready, or they've changed their minds, or they've had second thoughts, or they're scared, or whatever the reason is, it's caused a delay of some sort. And it can be more than one person. Let's say the timeline and the event I'm looking at has to do with departing this earth plane, and they are leaving here and going to the other side. And it's understandable that they might get cold feet as far as jumping into that situation. They are going to miss this life. They are scared of leaving this life. So when people ask me specific time frames, when is this going to happen, or a job opportunity, you're looking at it going, you need the job now because you're running out of money, or you need the job now because you're tired of waiting and you're tired of being passed over, and you do the work and you're just tired, or whatever the reason is. Instead of going with that attitude, guys, what I would do is, like if I want something to happen faster, and that has happened, yes, even I go through that, I will cast a spell to make it happen faster. If it's meant to happen on my timeline and I see it's meant to happen, I will cast a spell to make it happen faster. Or if it deals with, something that's just hard to get through, the waiting, and it's taking a long time and other people are dragging their feet, I will cast a spell to facilitate. I am telling you for absolute certain, if I cast a spell and it's not meant to happen, it will not be happening. No matter how much I cast. I don't care if I cast every hour on the hour, it's not going to happen. But if it is meant to happen, sometimes the waiting brings more growth. Sometimes, if you're patient with the timeline and you wait the appropriate amount of time, it's kind of like when you're marinating something, and you notice that the longer you leave something marinating, the better it tastes, right? Or if you're waiting for, your plant to flower or something like that, like you can't hurry these processes up. You can accelerate them, though. Yes, you can. You guys can cast your own versions of spells. It doesn't have to be an actual spell. It can be you write the words for when you would like this to occur. You know, how you would like to accelerate that process. Because if it's meant to be, those words will help. Those words will help assemble all the different pieces, all the different players together, and make that go faster for you. Now, one thing you're trading on, though, if you ask it to go faster, is sometimes you miss better opportunities because you're pushing something you think that's going to be better ahead of time, ahead of schedule. You think it's going to be better. And it actually ends up that something right after that was actually better for you, a better choice. And because you were in such an you know, all fire hurry to make that thing happen, you missed out on the better choice, the thing that you would have liked better to happen. So again, you know, this is cause and effect. You know, you push something to accelerate. Make sure that's the thing you really, really want, and that you're not possibly giving up on something that might be better after that choice. That's all I'm saying. If you know for sure that's the thing, that's the thing you need to have happen. Let's say it's a house you're looking to buy, and you find the house, and you just don't want anyone else in that house. You know, as sure as your own soul, that that house is meant to house you and your loved ones. Well, then the spell stuff will work. And spell meaning write the words down on a piece of paper, burn a white candle, set the words with your own voice, read them aloud, and then burn them and do it again. Do it twice a day if you want to. But I wouldn't overdo that either. Like anything that's overdone never gets done right. Did you ever notice that? Like you try to do something and you think by doing it a million times it's going to be better, and you actually start tainting the process by doing that. So what you want to do is you want to say the words, say the intention, go through the whole thing, and then find yourself in a place of peace that you did the thing, set it and forget it. That's what I call my set it and forget it. Because once I do these, I move on to like the next thing I have to do. I have about 10,000 things I have to do every single day. So that's what I suggest you do. But remember, the trade-off is if you try to accelerate something, make sure it's the thing you actually want. If it is a house you're buying or a job you want or an opportunity coming your way, make sure that's the one for absolutely sure. And then accelerating that process is not a problem because it was meant to happen anyway. Let's say you make a choice to accelerate something and you're not sure if it's the right choice. Let's say that you find yourself accelerating a choice that is unknown. You don't know if it's going to be the best choice for you. You don't know yet because it's in the future and you don't know enough about it yet. And you want to accelerate the event. You want it manifested sooner than what gravity or our timeline on this earth plane would bring it. What you want to do in that case is you want to bring it forward as soon as possible, but you want to add some words in that little casting you do for yourself, you know, the words you write down. You want to add like a prompt in there that says, you know, you would like to accelerate this as soon as possible, but make sure that you are not, that this does not cause the event to lose potency or to lose meaning or to lose the lesson within or to lose, you know, any of its energy field by pushing it faster. You want to push it as fast as it's able to go on the timeline and manifest it sooner. But you want to make sure that you add some words in there that say, push it as fast as it's meant to go without destroying the elements within. You want to make sure you bring it forth and it's had time to grow, to breathe, to become full-bodied, and then it manifests. You want to make sure that happens, because if you prematurely bring in an event by pushing it too hard too soon, you're going to lose some of the meaning of why you were in that to begin with, or the opportunity isn't quite ready for you yet and you're stuck with half an opportunity. Like maybe the other players in the other parts of that situation aren't ready yet. Let's say it's a job and the company hasn't quite yet formulated the job description itself. They don't know what that person's role will be or what their tests will be when they finally start working. Like sometimes it's better to wait it out and let it grow, let it breathe, let it mature to the point where it's at its peak performance. You want to bring it to its peak optimum performance. And you want to say something like that when you're writing the suggestion on a piece of paper and then burning it, or casting a spell and then burning it. Or I don't burn mine. I don't burn them. Sometimes I'll delete them and I'll start a fresh one. I do that all the time for myself because I find myself in circumstances with other people that get kind of crazy with money stuff, or like my apartment or something, and it's like sometimes I need to have sanity. So I'll cast it to make it go faster. But I wanted to talk about that along with timing on these readings. How many psychics out there who have this gift, who have this ability, timing is not one of the ones that most psychics are known for. Now, the ones that are can do it really well. And, I'm not a person that's really known for saying names out loud. Recently, this past year has become the first time in my psychic career that I'm able to see names. Honestly, I was never really, I never really did that before. I never really saw names and then said them during a reading. Or some mediums and some psychics they do it every day. So every intuitive has their gifts. Every psychic has their forte. Mine, one of them is timing. I've nailed it many more times than I've been wrong. So I don't get cocky about it, but I am confident, because I know, look, if it doesn't happen within that time frame, that means somebody screwed up. That means either you, the person I'm reading for, or the other players in that event got impatient, or they pulled a free will choice and they decided to do something out of sync with the plan, or they went rogue and they decided to do something that wasn't even in the plan to begin with. I can't count the number of clients I've had that decide to go rogue all of a sudden and think, oh, well, Carla said it would happen, so it will, and it'll happen in this time frame. And then they come back to me, why didn't it happen? And I said, because you went rogue and you did all these other things you weren't supposed to do. There are rules for a reason. Universal law. If you stay on the path and you follow the rules, then you'll be okay. If you all of a sudden think that you're untouchable, that you are just basically unbreakable, you could do whatever you want and the thing is still going to happen, that's not true at all. There are rules with this, with the timeline. But like I said before, about 75% of the time, I even 80% of the time, I'll give it, I've seen the timing come to fruition as I had seen it. And sometimes it's even scary accurate. I've had people tell me that it happens on the very day I said it would happen. Um, and there it is. And you know what? I'm only as good as my last reading, though. So I never just take that and say, oh, okay, I'm done and I don't have to work on myself. I am always, always, always honing my skills. You're only as good as your last read, that kind of thing. I never just rest on my laurels thinking, oh, well, I've nailed it so many times, I can just sit back now and enjoy life. No, this is a constant thing. I am constantly sharpening my skills, honing my skills, trying to make it better. But I'm going to offer you guys to speak and ask questions about how this works with timing, because I know this is one of the things that comes up in readings. Like, people don't understand, well, how does that work? How does it work with timing? And if you see it, is it written in stone for that time frame? Well, there are some things that happen outside of that time frame. So, there are other things beyond the time frame. There are other players whose lives are intertwined with yours, who have other events that are happening. And so, it can seem very complicated and very complex. But if you have questions, just go ahead and submit a request to speak. I'll put you on and you can ask a question about, just concerns about timing. You've thought about it before, and it's like, well, if things don't happen within the time frame I see, well, that's why I tell you first window. Almost all the time when I'm reading, I see more than one timeline. Multiple doors you could go through. I'll tell you the most likely one, the most likely time frame within which that event will happen, that event will occur. But, some people miss that one because of, like I said, there are other parties in the mix. There could be 3, 4 people. It could be a group. It could be a family. It could be a job. It could be anything where the funding fell through. And certain elements of that decision aren't in place yet. That's why I said, let it breathe like a fine wine. Let it breathe. Let it mature. Let it assimilate its environment first and get settled in there and be at peak performance before you push it to go faster than it's meant to. Because there's reasons for that, guys. There's reasons for why you need to be prepared for the things you're pushing so hard to happen so fast. Maybe you're not mature enough to actually do it at that particular time that you're pushing so hard to have it happen. There's a little growth that needs to occur first. There are other events that need to play out first. Then you will see why you had to wait. So timing is something I see where I most likely and have done on each reading. I tell you And like this afternoon's read, I read this woman for the first time out of Ireland, and she extended the read because, like, I was just, left and right getting it. And it's mainly because I'm not afraid to say it. Many psychics are afraid to give you timing because what if I'm wrong? What if I'm wrong? What if I was wrong with the timing and then they never come back? I don't worry about these things. My timing holds for the most part. If it doesn't happen within that time frame, somebody in the mix wasn't ready. Oh, but it will happen unless you do something that is, you go rogue and you do something that will cause that event never to happen. You blow up that building, or whatever. You basically put something forward that is irreversible, and there's no coming back from it. But most of the time, like I said, the events happen in the time frame assigned, and it's usually the first window when I see these things. Sometimes people need a refresher course, and it's the second or third time, and then they finally get it. They finally mature enough where, as a soul, where they see that that is a necessary component to assimilating that lesson with that event or that time frame. Like the things that are happening for me now, let's give an example, like, like relationship wise or whatever. I never would have been able to handle this 20 years ago. I can tell you for a fact, I would have had a nervous breakdown, and I would be gone. I would be, abusing alcohol or pills or something. I would have been doing that. I never would have been able to handle a lot of recurrent nightmare stuff at this level of maturity and patience that I've developed over my lifetime. So now it's much better. I am much more suited to the proper outcome with this now. So 20 years ago, no way. No way would I have been grown up enough to withstand that war, that battle, that storm. I never could have gotten through it. Honestly, I could not have. And think about yourselves in the same situation. Think about how you're in situations now, and think about yourself before. Would you have been ready? And think why the universe chose this time frame for what's happening that you would like to manifest. So, the biggest question I get about timing, okay, when is it going to happen? But you'll notice when I'm in a read with you, a private session, that I'll answer that question, but I'll also temper it with, okay, this will happen at this time frame is what I'm seeing, and it's the first window, but I'll temper it with another statement that lets you know, it's not just about the thing happening and when it will happen. It's about my responsibility to make sure that you are prepared for that happening, that you are prepared for what is about to happen in all aspects. Because if you're not, it's worth nothing. And it's a waste of your time. If you're not prepared for the thing you're pushing so hard to have happen right now, right this minute, when you want it, you have to be prepared for these things so it's not just about when, guys. Oh, I'm so tired of waiting. I'm so tired of waiting. I deserve a good relationship. I deserve this. I deserve, it's like, instead of thinking about, what you're entitled to, think about whether or not you actually are prepared for the thing that you're wishing so hard for. Are you prepared to make it work? Are you prepared on all fronts to bring it forward in a way that will actually make it long lasting and permanent? Or are there elements of your personality, little quirks that prevent you from finishing something. And you escape, you know? And when you do that, when you find yourself in a position to manifest something, remember that that's the other side of the coin for timing is like, are you ready? Are you indeed ready? Are you mature enough? Are you mature enough as a soul? Did you integrate all the lessons that were necessary, all the components that would make that something that sticks? Or are there holes in that where you didn't work so hard on your patience, or you didn't work so hard on going rogue every time something got hard, or you didn't breathe? You didn't breathe enough through the whole thing. You found yourself doubting all the time, and your self doubt and the doubt injected into those events actually caused it to collapse. When you do this with the timing, my best advice, my best suggestion, and when I give you a timing, is to put it in the back of your mind. I've said that I probably over thousands of times to people now. Put it in the back of your mind with the timing I just told you. That is a gift I just gave you. That's like a little um, it's like a firefly, that size light. It's something that should be that big. And you put it in the background, and it's just this little morsel of hope that you have that it will happen within that time frame. But it's not something that you hold on to so tight that you lose the lesson and all the rest of the elements of the event ready to manifest. Okay. So in each of my readings, when I give you guys a time frame, I try to prepare you for the event along with the timing, so that it's not just about timing. So many people ask about timing because of one thing: they're impatient. The one thing I learned this lifetime, and I'm proud of myself for doing this, is patience. People ask me all the time, how are you so patient with certain things that I'm dealing with, even right now? And I said, because I worked on myself a lot. I did some shadow work, and I did some work on, this was something I came into this lifetime needing to learn, was patience. 30 years ago, no, I was not patient, not at all. And, I made myself crazy and everybody else around me crazy because I was constantly complaining that something wasn't happening fast enough. Now I have the wisdom of knowing why things took a little longer, because that was the perfect time for something to blossom. That was the perfect time for it to be understood. That was the perfect time to cradle whatever that was and cultivate it into something beautiful. So I wasn't like that 30 years. I was not like that at all, and I drove people insane. And I'm sure you guys have had your own circumstances and uh, events where you just start wishing time away. Don't wish your time away on the timeline. Don't say, like, if I told you something was going to happen in October, okay, don't take from now until October and do nothing. Use your time wisely, my doves. Use your time wisely and get some other stuff done. Use that time for something else. You should never waste time. You should never just toss it aside like it's nothing. Time is such a precious thing. Here in this dimension, time is such a it's a precious commodity. It's something that we take for granted because we're here. And we only value it when it's gone. We only value time when it's gone, when it's lost. Time is never lost, though, guys. It just changes form. It just changes dependent upon your perspective. There are alternate universes that utilize time differently than we do here. Going through all the scenarios, coming to different conclusions at the end of that time frame, different outcomes to contribute this information to the Akashic records at the end of the day. So remember not to wish time away, because it's so precious. Don't wish your time away. Place your time in a crystal jar and just realize that time is something that is pliable. Time is something that it's a gift that's given to you, because sometimes you need more time to be ready for the event that you're trying to push so hard to happen right now, right this moment. And maybe you're not mature enough. Maybe you don't have enough information. Maybe there's not enough, data, compiled yet. Maybe the choice after this one is the better choice, especially if there are a lot of unknowns, unknown elements inside that event. Sometimes the event after, and that's where, someone like me and other psychics who are gifted have, they can see beyond on the timeline. They can see that the choice after this one is the better one. And they give you that information. And a good psychic will give you the information and still let you make your own mistakes. They don't force you to do the thing that they tell you to do. They don't get disappointed in you if you choose another path first. It's all part of the learning curve, guys. That's why we're here. I don't get mad at people for choosing another way until they come around to the way that I had seen to begin with. But I don't look down upon them saying, hey, if you would just listen to me in the first place. Like, first of all, it's not a dictatorship. I'm not here to dictate to you. I'm giving you what's given me. And then if you have within your personality the need to test things, you have to be sure. You have to test things. You have to make sure for yourself. Well, then there's nothing wrong with that. Go test it. Go do your other choices. And then when you come back around to this one again, I don't need the acknowledgement for that. You have gone, you went in some sort of like like a circular course, getting around to the same thing. Instead of from point A to point B, you went in a circular course and you came around to the same conclusion. There's nothing wrong with that, because we need people that are like that. We need people who are skeptical about the process, that need to see for themselves. You know why? You know why that is? That is because when they come around, after they circle round and round and round, and they come to that same conclusion, it's not about somebody being right and getting patted on the back. It's about when they were going around in circles, they have more of a story to tell. They have more of an experience to share. Yeah, and when I went around this way, something else happened to me, and this happened, and this happened, and this happened. And it was all stuff that wouldn't have happened if you had gone in a straight line from point A to point B. So we need those people. Everybody has their own pattern and their own, some people are more direct. They like to go from point in order. I, on the other hand, like to do things out of order all the time. I have never done anything the way somebody expected me to, ever in my entire life. I have, I decide to do the last thing first. I decide to do, you know, breakfast for dinner. It's kind of that thinking. I do things that are unexpected because it helps me stay fluid. It helps me stay pliable. It helps me stay, um, it's like a well oiled machine, like I'm not stuck in this same pattern day after day after day. I shake it up, I make it all different. And I like being that way. Some people couldn't live this way, though. And I understand that. So when I'm reading them, I try to assess the best way for them to integrate that lesson instead of forcing upon them how I would do it. There's a very small percentage of people that could do it the way that I do it and feel comfortable. And I like living on the edge of all that. I like it. I like every day not knowing what's going to happen because it makes me fresh. But I also understand people that need the security blanket sort of path. They need to feel warm and comforted every step. They're doing baby steps, and I understand that. So no matter what your path is and what your approach is to the timeline and how timing works, remember what I said before earlier today. Remember that if you're going to ask for something to happen now because you're tired of waiting and you need it to happen now because you deserve it now and you're entitled to it now, remember that there could be something that would make that event better if you waited. Some other elements could be added to it that make it so much better. Or there's something else after that choice that you aren't aware of yet. It's the unknown. And if you had known about that choice after the fact, you might be more patient with the timeline and stop blaming time for delivering things not in the time frame that you would like them to happen. Because there's always a reason for why it happens at the time it does. That's all I'm trying to say, is that in the reads, I see this all the time. I see it with myself. I understand why it takes a little more time on some things than other things. I understand that. And people are wondering, where am I getting this patience from? I did that work on myself. That's the one thing that I came here to learn. One of my major lessons was patience this lifetime. And I'm very happy to say that I got it. I understood why now. Frustrated. I'm still human. I still get frustrated with things if they're taking forever and a day. Um, especially like if I'm waiting for coffee and it's taking too long to brew, I'm like, please hurry up because I need that coffee like right now. But most of the time I understand the waiting and I understand the timeline and why it is assembled and the different nuances come in when they do, because most of the time everybody thinks they're so ready for the things on the timeline you're waiting for that you're so impatient for. And you have to be equipped. You have to be prepared. And that's part of my job when I'm reading you, to prepare you. Okay, look, you don't realize it, but you're going to need to have this in place before you get this thing you want. Oh, but I'm ready now. I have a couple of clients I have one client, especially here in Los Angeles, and she's like ready for her relationship. And she's, and I said, look, you're not ready. There's certain things about you that will cause that same outcome to happen unless you do some inner correction right now. You need to correct on the inside first in your approach, because if you keep doing it the same way and keep hitting the wall the same way you're hitting it, it'll be the same result. And you'll have to start over again and again and again. And it's not that the universe punishes you with that. You punish yourself by doing that. So all I'm saying, keep yourselves open to other reasons for why something may take a little longer. Oh, but I'll be too old to have a child by then. Or, I hear all these excuses for the timeline. Oh, I'll be this or that. I'm doing everything backwards. I'm having, like things now that I wished for 40 years ago that I couldn't have handled 40 years ago. I would not have been prepared, and I would have wrecked the whole thing. And I wouldn't have learned anything, and it would have been a big mess, and it just wouldn't have been the same. So remember, be careful the agenda you try to push. The universe knows better than you guys. Please be humble enough to recognize that the universe knows better than you do. And hold on to that. I need to know if anybody has any questions about timing and how it works in psychic ability and readings, and just projecting ahead, and any questions that I didn't cover. I think I covered a lot though, but if you have a question as to the process of timing, put it forward and let me know. But other than that, I think I gave you guys some good little bits of wisdom in there, some little breadcrumbs you can chew on for a while. But like I said, if you want to make something, you want to accelerate something on the timeline, make damn sure it's the thing you want. Make damn sure. Because if it's meant to happen, it will happen, but you may not be prepared for it in the time you think you are. That extra 6 months would have given you a wealth of knowledge you wouldn't have had before, and you needed that knowledge to get through some hurdles. And you kick yourself because you didn't wait. So remember, be prepared. Be prepared with pushing timelines. The universe knows better than us. They know if you're ready. And the way if something on the timeline is ready to manifest, you'll feel like a vibration in the air. You'll feel like this sparkling vibration, like it's just suspended in the air, and that you're in the right pocket, you're in the right timeline, you're in the right set of circumstances where it's all happening, and you're going to want to pinch yourself because you're thinking, when's the other shoe going to drop? Try not to go there, guys. Try not to add more drama to the situation. Allow yourselves to actually receive the things that you want, that you desire, that you are wishing so hard for. Allow yourselves to actually receive it. The acceptance and the receiving is just as much a part as the wishing and the work that you've done to get to that point. Be ready to receive it, guys. That's a lot of the equation right there. Be ready to receive these things. I'm ready. I don't know about you guys, but I'm ready right now. You can hear it in my voice. I am very ready. I don't throw a wrench into the works now where I used to before. Oh my God, I was so bad. I had the worst habits. I used to throw wrenches into everything, you know, just to see what would happen. And I don't do that anymore. That's disrespectful to the situation. That's disrespectful to the gift that is about to be bestowed upon me. You know, the universe is bringing me something, and I understand that. So, again, like, just remember, allow it, welcome it, let yourselves receive something, be ready to receive. Then your timeline will accelerate based just on that. If you're ready to receive it, that cuts out some of the time you're waiting. I've noticed that with some of my clients and with myself even. I've noticed that it will shave off some of the time you have to wait if you are ready to receive. All right, I've given you all kinds of wisdom here on this Friday night. I always try to teach you on a Friday. Do you notice that it's like the end of the week? People want to go out and party, but I'm teaching you. School has, you know, commenced here. If nobody has any questions, I'm just going to toss this up on the YouTube and all the other platforms, and you guys can pick apart the different things and take notes and whatever. But I think I covered it all with the timeline, how timing works inside these readings, and how you should perceive the information that you're given in those readings as far as timing. And the fact that not every psychic is good at that. I'm not good at other things that other psychics can do really, really well. So, but the one thing that I am known for is timing a lot. And if timing has been abdicated and that event doesn't happen, it's because a free will choice was made to kill the deal, you know? A free will outside choice was made, and it permanently disabled whatever that agreement was, and it'll have to be handled in a different way this lifetime or in the next one. And you have to be fluid. You have to be graceful enough to accept those changes and not be force feeding yourself onto your timeline. That's not what it's about here. Try to sail the wave of the timeline, please. You'll fare so much better. And at the end of your life, you'll be so much happier. You'll be smiling all the time. The pressure of pushing your timeline is like, there's no aging. There's no, I'm running out of time. There's none of that unless you perceive it that way. I certainly don't. I really don't. And that's why I am perpetually in this youthful thing going on here, because I just don't subscribe to that whole thing. So see if you guys can adopt some of that, maybe a little piece of what I've said tonight. And I hope it helped with something you're going through now, or something you did go through before and now you understand it better. And I will put this up, and tomorrow I'm going to do my live. I'm going to do it around 2:00 tomorrow afternoon Pacific time for the live astrology psychic predictions for each zodiac sign. And I think you guys are liking those, so I'm going to keep that going for as long as I can. And I will record the live tomorrow. And if somebody wants to stop by while I'm doing it, great. But I don't have anybody coming in asking questions on those. I just go through each sign and I see what I can see for the following week, starting Sunday to Saturday. So I will talk to you guys next time. Thanks for stopping by, and I'm feeling like the collective here is actually getting what I said tonight, and I'm kind of happy about that. You guys are you guys are catching on to some of this, and nobody could be prouder than me. Thank you. All right. Have a good evening, everybody, and I'll talk to you tomorrow. Bye bye.